Hello and welcome back to Light Up Literature, the Light Up Literature YouTube channel. So today I'm going to go over what makes me qualified to help you and you help your students or your kiddos. So it's going to be a little bit about me. Actually, it's going to be a lot about me, so you can get a vibe whether we're a good fit and where I'm coming from. So I am a mom. I'm a wife. I'm an only child. My husband's an only child. I have 3 dogs, and pretty much any stray that shows up ends up being the Crow Mountain Rescue family, which seems to be us. So the reason why I tell you this is I am always busy. But before this life, this new part of my life, I was a single mom, and I put myself through school so that I could get my degree. I was a global editor at a medical device company, KCI, which is now part of the 3M family. Shout out. Loved my job there. It was awesome. But my daughter went into middle school, and she's my only child. So I wanted to make sure I was there. I knew that financially being alone, being single, I really couldn't afford to homeschool her, which is what I wanted to do, much to her protest. She was not about it. But I definitely wanted to be more involved with her, because while I love my job at KCI, I worked a lot. And when I was home, I was still working or thinking about work. And I thought, okay, well, if I become a teacher, then, hey, here we go. I'll be on the same schedule as her, and I'll, have this life at home with her. Well, that shows you how much I knew. Since my degree was in English, I went ahead and took an alternative certification to become a teacher in the state of Texas. I still currently have my teaching certificate, and I started teaching. And my daughter had to go in middle school specifically, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be where she was. And I started teaching. And my first year was horrendous. Oh my gosh. Parents, admin, everyone hated me, because I was like, the students liked me pretty well, but I asked a whole lot. And I had started in 4th grade. I was teaching 4th grade because I was at a school that was K through 8, and Grace was in 6th grade. Well, I was so fortunate that I was able to get that first year under my belt and then move into a public middle school. This public middle school, I was very fortunate to have some awesome administrators that supported me, and amazing teachers that supported me with my vision. Even though my vision was a little controversial. I didn't want to teach English the same way everyone taught English. I didn't want to teach writing the same way everyone taught writing. So my first year at that middle school, my daughter got dumped into my pre-AP English class, which she hates English, or at least she did then, but it worked out great. I started working hours and hours and hours because there was so much material out there, but it wasn't good material. It was easy material. It was, here, I can give you this to go along with this, and I won't have to create anything. But that's really never been my standard. Like, I want to be the best at everything. No matter what I'm doing, I've got to be the best. And so I wanted that for my students. So that meant I had to put in some extra hours at the house, thinking I left my job that I loved, thinking, oh, I'm going to have more time with my daughter at home at night. No, I did. Baby girl, go get on your homework. Mama's working too. But I created everything we needed based on the pieces that we were reading. And I had awesome team members who were so supportive with me during that. And they helped, they had amazing ideas. So one thing I can say is definitely, you can pick and choose from what you like about the Light Up Literature curriculum and what you don't like. And that's okay, because I gathered a lot of data and information. My students ended up doing awesome on the end of the year exam, but not because I drilled them. It was because I had a consistent schedule. Before we read, we did vocabulary. That means I went through the story, whether it's a novel or a short story, and I made sure we had all the vocabulary, especially some of those classical pieces that are awesome, but the vocabulary is very antiquated. We just don't use it like that anymore, or we don't use it at all. So we had to develop that vocabulary, and we needed to start that before we started reading, because most kids weren't going to stop and say, "Miss, what does that mean?" You've got some, and they're rock star. I'm like, "Oh, you got my heart, baby." But most of them are just going to keep on reading and try to figure it out with context clues. But if you have a whole lot of that makes it really hard to have good reading comprehension. So that's what we did. Every class, we started with vocabulary for whatever we were reading, and not writing definitions, because writing definitions is like the lowest level of learning possible. It's not even memorization, it's just copying what something. Now for some people who need to be able to physically write, it's awesome, it helps. But I wasn't interested in that bare minimum. I wanted us to get up to that advanced learning, that critical thinking, that creative thinking. So instead of definitions, I wanted 3 synonyms. I didn't care if they used Google to look up the synonyms. Didn't matter. Doesn't matter to me when I'm live teaching, Zoom live teaching with my students now. Whether they look it up in the dictionary, which I do believe in dictionary skills, or they use their phone or the internet to find the definitions or the synonyms, that's not what matters. It's remembering and having a branch out on what those words mean that matter. And then figurative language was always something that every year across the board, across the country, pretty much it's not a strong skill. And it's not a strong skill because we hate teaching it. It gets boring. But the beautiful thing about using your literature, whatever you're reading, to teach is you find the figurative language in that piece. And every piece you do, you just keep using it. So it's not about learning definitions. A simile uses like or as to compare 2 different things. It's not just about that. It's about identifying which thing is a simile. Because just because you see like and just because you see as doesn't mean you're comparing 2 things. And that's what a lot of students have gotten into the habit of seeing. Oh, well, if there's like or as, that means it's a simile. I like my dog. I'm not comparing anything. I'm cute as a button. Now, I'm not saying that, but it was just an example. That's comparing 2 different things. So, that's one of the things I made sure that the curriculum isn't this run-of-the-mill, all right, let's write some definitions, let's read, answer some questions. We've got reading comprehension questions that you do while you're reading or listening to it. And that's because it keeps students engaged. And if they were kiddos like me, ADHD, totally hated reading as a kid, hated it. And even now, I'm only interested in what I'm interested in. So I needed something to keep me engaged with the text. So having questions in chronological order while we read and keeping students keep going back into their text, that is gold, because it keeps them engaged and keeps them focused so that they're not getting lost. And since it's in chronological order, it means when they can find, if they didn't find an answer, they can find something that they will be able to go back and like, oh, I missed this one, but I know where this is and I know where this is, so it's somewhere here on this page. It's all about good critical thinking skills. So is that a test-taking strategy? Yeah, I guess it is. But it's all about critical thinking. I know it was here, and I found the answer that goes in this section and this section, but right here's the blank. It sounds so basic, but we need to help our kiddos learn those practical skills and learn them with their different types of texts, whether it's English, history, math, or social studies. These same critical thinking skills are across the board. And that's the thing. It's not just an ELA, English Language Arts focus. And then the last step definitely is the writing, grammar and writing. Why would you look for all these different worksheets when you can teach the basic lesson? What's a noun? What's a verb? What's a complete sentence? What's a compound sentence? But then their practice should go back into the novel or the short story that they're already reading. It brings it all together. That way you have one text. You don't have to go and look for everything all over the place. You have one book, and you have everything you need right there to be super successful. And that's what I focused on for the Light Up Literature curriculum. My students in public school did extremely well at the end of the year, and parents were so excited because their students grew so much. Not just their high stakes end of the year test, but parents could start seeing in everyday vocabulary, everyday communication. They'd be talking to their kids and they'd be like, oh, that means this. Oh, I know what that means. And I had a lot of parents who just really loved that extra push. So that was the background on creating the Light Up Literature community and the Light Up Literature curriculum. Because my daughter struggled in English, I hated reading, and I'm like ADHD, mildly dyslexic, and so I needed something for people like me, for kiddos like me, where they can still be super successful and they learn a ton and have fun while they're doing it. And what more can a parent or a teacher want for their kiddo or their student is to have them having a blast and learning a whole bunch at the same time. And that's what Light Up Literature is all about. So I hope I see you in the next video, but I've got to head out now and get to work. I've got kiddos who are waiting for me to start teaching. So I will see you in the next video.